Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy and what exactly his goals are in this 2024 U.S. presidential election. Because it's becoming very clear that Vivek's positioning to win the 2024 U.S. presidential election is absolutely critical for every American and is truly our only real hope at having 4 years of a return to the American dream and um, and and allowing what has been promised us, you know, in our founding fathers paper creations, which are supposed to be granted for us. But are we going to be able to pursue are we going to be able to pursue happiness under under President Joseph Biden? It has become impossible to pursue happiness because and the reason I just spoke to someone yesterday. They're they they did not close the gap and go to college right out of high school. Today they work 55 hours a week and are going to college on top of that. And I just, and I'm praying for this person. It's somebody I really care about. And I'm just like, your life is like, you cannot pursue happiness in that. You just have to grind, right? Like, and it's brutal. And the American dream has died in less than 3 years. No one in America, like, people in America are like, can I get eggs? There's no discussion anymore from regular non-millionaire Americans do not discuss buying cars or houses anymore. We've reached a brutal, savage reality in less than 3 years, right? And the reason for this is why it's so absolutely critical that Vivek Ramaswamy wins, right? Because he can return capability proximity rather than coffin proximity. Okay? Let me explain that, right? So basically, we are right now replacing in America, democracy is dying, and we are replacing it with gerontocracy. Are you 70 years old? Are you 80 years old? Are you decades past the retirement? Have you been collecting Social Security for decades? Then you should be the one who rules, right? And this is not debatable. This is not a debatable subject anymore. You want to hear why? Right? Listen carefully. Dianne Feinstein, right? This is what Vivek is saving us from, right? She just died, and the entire country is looking at the reality, right? And it's undeniable. Like, there's open discussion across the mass media that she had zero physical or mental ability to do the job that she was holding, right? And there's open discussion that she was holding the job and other people were doing the work, right? And the reality was, when she was elected, right, her proximity was closer to a coffin than it was capability, right? The California voters voted to get a capable leader, but what they got was a coffin leader, right? Dianne Feinstein was closer to a coffin than she was capability, right? Now, how could that possibly happen? How can you have somebody who's been a senator for 30 years and gets reelected with virtually zero physical capability or mental capability to do the job? Well, New York Times just reported it today, right? They said LaFonza Butler has been appointed by Gavin Newsom, governor of California, to replace Dianne Feinstein. LaFonza Butler has never held office. So you're picking a person to be a U.S. senator, and the person has literally never held office. What? Why? Why would you? You need capability. You need experience. You need, prominence. You need some qualifications to replace a senator. And the New York Times was like, no, you don't. And the reason why was the person who was serving as a senator didn't even have the capabilities then, right? Like, so it's nothing replacing nothing, right? Like, they're like, you don't need capability to be a U.S. senator because the person who had the job before wasn't capable, right? Like, it's astounding. It is absolutely astounding. And this only happens for two reasons. One, a cementing gerontocracy in America. And then more importantly, listen to this. We're reaching a point where the things are so messed up that major mainstream media, New York Times, right, they published a headline today that said LaFonza Butler is replacing Dianne Feinstein. She has never held office, and the reason for this is because she has been a specific member of California's political machine. That is literally what the New York Times said. They said she's part of California's political machine. And I was like, wait a second, did you just say LaFonza Butler is part of a political machine? I have a degree in political science, and my understanding of a political machine is literally a mechanism that churns out wins in an unearned manner. They just said flat out, the New York Times reported that LaFonza Butler got the job. They said it in the headline because she's part of California's political machine. I thought political machines were done in the 30s and 40s. I knew they existed in like New York and different places like that. But I thought that was like, old, a bunch of, old guys, smoking cigars and like, we'll just pick the candidate. New York Times just said flat out, LaFonza Butler, who has never held political office, right, is being chosen because she's part of California's political machine. Just said the quiet part loud, right? And so this is why Vivek Ramaswamy coming in from the outside saying, hey, right, I am a billionaire. I know how to generate money, right? Oh, and trust and believe, LaFonza Butler is not a billionaire, right? She's not created something from something as powerful as Vivek Ramaswamy from an entrepreneurial perspective, right? And so it is astounding that, and so Vivek is coming in to change the system, right? Now, and actually, you could say that they were doing the same thing with LaFonza Butler, right? And that she doesn't need capability because Vivek he's never held political office either, right? I get that. But no one is openly claiming that Vivek is part of a political machine, right? The New York Times literally put in a headline that LaFonza Butler was chosen because she was part of California's political machine, right? They said the quiet part loud, saying this is not a person who is capable. Vivek is capable. He's proven it. He has billions of pieces of proof, right? Each one $1, right? Like, and if you could become a billionaire in America, you certainly have the qualities needed to be president, in my humble opinion, if you can match that with a moral foundation, which he does, right? So basically, just to be clear, we are voting for Vivek Ramaswamy not just to make him president and to beat Donald Trump, but to literally wrest, W-R-E-S-T, control of our nation from the gerontocracy that is attempting to replace democracy, right? And I do believe at this point that Dianne Feinstein's death has exposed a massive, brutal, savage, horribly evil gerontocracy that is looking to replace democracy. And it must be stopped. And Vivek Ramaswamy is exactly the opposite of a gerontocracy candidate. He is literally barely old enough to qualify to be president. It is leadership from youth and physical and mental capability based on having an age where you can logically be expected to move and think. At 90 years old, it is outrageously unfair to tell people you must move today, you must think today, and you must do it at a rate that is fast, right? and incredibly effective. It was cruel what was being done with, to, and by Dianne Feinstein. We must wrest America, the power in America, from this horrible, evil gerontocracy, which is now being it's already been put into place by the Democrats, taking the U.S. presidency and handing it to a member of the gerontocracy, right? The question is if the Republicans would do it. And I am telling you, you must reject this gerontocracy with the election of Vivek Ramaswamy. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.